Halifax real estate market is always changing, and right now I'm going to give you all of the details that I know from looking at the market for the month of March so that you become an informed buyer, an informed seller, and if you're relocating here, you know exactly what's going on. Right, the big thing everybody wants to know, of course, is what happened to the average price. But before we get into that, I'm Richard Payne, a local realtor here in Halifax, and I go through all of the detail on the stats, lots of information about neighborhoods, about relocating here, where's the best spots, comparing different neighborhoods and all that stuff. So if that's the kind of thing that you're interested in, then definitely hit the button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment down below. And if there's any way that we can help you, just let us know. Right, that average sale price, we are hitting, and this is going to be a bit of a surprise because this is only the month of March that we're looking at. This isn't like the April or the May or the June numbers, and we're at $659.9 thousand. So short of $100, let's call it 660. Now that is pretty much one of the highest numbers that we have hit in the last 18 to 24 months. And I'm pretty sure the last time we were this high, it was like around June last year, is certainly what it felt like. So that puts us at roughly 6% over last month and 3.2% over last year. And when you kind of look at the month as to like what's going on, what's driving that kind of number, because that's a big number. Like we've seen over the last 3-4 months, kind of like trending downwards. And this month completely bucked the trend and actually went straight back up. And it's not because, to spoil later on, that we had like a ton of listings or a ton of new sales. It just seems when you look at some of the bigger selling markets, those are the markets that actually had some fairly big number increases. So for instance, if we looked at, say, Bedford, that market was up $125,000. Halifax Peninsula, when you add them all together, that was up $165,000. Upper Tantallon, another one of the top selling markets that we'll come to later on, that was up $80,000. The whole of Dartmouth up $35,000. So you get the feeling here that yes, there might be some markets in there that obviously did not go up by as much, but they weren't big volume selling markets. So when you add all of those ones together, that's really what happens is they basically pushed that price up by an extra $36,000 over last month. Now, again, in Bedford, there was a couple of properties there that were really high. One of them was for $3.8 million on Shore Drive. Came up at 3.99, sold finally at 3.8. So yes, there was a little bit of a price drop there, but like it's nearly a $4 million number. That's absolutely going to impact some of the numbers. And you'll see next month as well that one on Peninsula Halifax that was listed at $14 million, well, that also sold. And I'm not sure when the closing is, but it firmed up today, which of course is the 1st of April, for $11 million. So there's some serious buyers out there with a lot of money. And that's the danger, is it's basically pushing that price up. And so the worry for us all here, especially if you're a buyer, is, stay away from that high-end crazy price markets because they are big numbers. But when we talk averages, and this is the thing, it's always with talking averages. So I'll give you the median numbers in a sec as well. That's what happens. Big buyers come in with pretty deep pockets, an $11 million sale, a $4 million sale, about 10, 12 properties over $1 million sell as well. And that's really what's going to happen. It's going to bring everything up. So looking at median, let's kind of ignore some of those extremities. The median actually came in at $595,000 with a $599.9 list price. So that puts us at 99.2% sale to list price. But that gives you a bit more hope when you look at 595. I mean, it's still like a fairly big number, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. But let's exclude some of those extremities and we're at 595, a little bit more sensible. Looking at the number of sales, we hit 270 sales. Now that was up on last month by 16%, but it was down on last year by 50 sales, 16% down. So we're actually behind compared to last March. But again, price is substantially up on last year, $20,000 higher than last year as well. So shows you that, yes, we're not selling a ton of houses. And that's certainly the feeling right now is buyers are definitely waiting and trying to find the right property, which also stacks up when you start looking at the days on market, the months of inventory, how many new listings came on, and we'll cover all those ones as well. For those days on market, we're at 46. Oddly, we were at 46 last month as well. So the days on market didn't actually change, but we're definitely, compared to last year, we are 10 days higher than last year because last year was only 36. So December into January, it was in the 50s, like 52, 56. Last month in February came down to 46, and then March 46 as well. So like month and a half roughly, which is still pretty good. Like it still puts us in a fairly good market. Looking at inventory, that's at 2.8 months. Last month it was at 2.8 months as well. So days on market didn't change. Months of inventory didn't change. But again, like the feeling we've been saying all along is, yes, 2.8 months is strictly a seller's market, but that's not how it feels. We're not seeing multiple offers. We are getting lower than asking price when you actually write your offer and get it accepted. But they are starting to move a little bit quicker, obviously with the 46 days on market. But you can see that it's starting to actually get ready for that kind of spring market, because April into May, those are typically, a bit of June as well, typically our biggest months of sales. Number of active homes for sale. So in other words, how much choice as a buyer do you have right now? We're at 746 houses that were currently for sale that you could go and look at, all price ranges. Well, that puts us at an extra 14% over last month and an extra 6% over last year. So that number's trucking along quite well. But again, you won't see a big change in the months of inventory if we sell more and we list more. So that's not really going to show up in the numbers. But looking at the number of houses that we listed, we're at 460 houses were listed, up 150 homes over last month, down on last year for sure. So it shows that we're starting. But again, when you look at February being only 310 homes for sale, we're now at 460 that were actually listed. But again, we didn't increase the inventory because we actually sold quite a few of those as well. So like the big theme for everything in the Halifax market right now is it's feeling like buyers have more choice. You can write an offer and actually get money off the listing price. So those are kind of two good things, because going back a few years, you didn't really have a lot of choice. Now we have 746 homes that you could potentially go and look at. I don't do it, like you drive your agent crazy, but you can actually drill down and be specific. Now, the hard thing I'm finding for some buyers is the choice. There just isn't a lot of choice that actually matches your needs and what you're actually looking for. So you've either got two choices. Number one, you can be patient and wait and see what happens kind of in April and in May. Or number two, you can change some of those criteria and say, okay, listen, let's focus on what really matters and go for those properties. For the sellers, the big thing and the big advice here is you've got to price it well. Like we'll talk shortly about some of the price drops that we've seen, and the pretty big price drops, just to give you a clue. But you've got to make sure you price it properly. You've got to make sure your property looks good and stands out from everything else. Otherwise, you will be getting an amendment for items on an inspection that can be pretty large in terms of what that price is being reduced down to because of deferred maintenance, because of items that need fixing. So have a look at those things as well and just factor that into your sale price. Moving on to the sale to new listings, which is a good one that we always want to check because that tells you how healthy the market is. And we're actually at 59% coming off last month, which was 75. And we're probably something like, I think it's like 66 for last year. So you can see that because we sold it a little bit more and the inventory did go up a little bit, but the new listings that we actually put on the market went up so much, and the number that we sold, you can see that number dropped. So we like to be kind of like more into the like 80s and 90s because that tells you that we're not building inventory. Right now, we're just holding steady. Talking about price drops, because this is an interesting one that we always like to look at every single month and see what's really going on in terms of what's the number you're going to have to decrease your price by to get the offer. And this month, that number came in at $38,000. So that's a little bit more than what we were talking about last month. And it was interesting as well, when you look at all the individual markets, pretty much every market, apart from 3 of those markets in the whole of HRM, actually had to get the price reductions done so that they would then attract the offer. So again, with sellers, you want to try and be on the market at pretty much the right price to get an offer. Now, yes, you might have to accept a little bit less, but you don't want to be doing that price drop to get an offer and then going underneath that offer number. You really want to be like, here's my original list price, and then let's see what number I get that's close enough that you would actually accept and a buyer is happy to offer. So when you look at some of those top markets that we'll go through, we'll cover off some of those bigger price drops. But, there's some, to get to a number that's $38,000, there's some big price drops in there, that's for sure. Moving into those top markets, because we've actually got 4 top markets this month, because there was a tie for 3rd place between 2 different markets. But it's not changing that much. Like, it's typically the top 4, top 5 markets are often the same. So number 1 was Timberley Prospects at Margaret's Bay, Upper Tantallon area. They had a list price of just under $700,000. Sale price there was $692, giving them a reduction there of 1.2%, $8,000. 55 days on the market, 25 sales in the month. So again, we didn't sell a huge amount, like 270 and 25 was the top market. That only puts them basically at 10%. Was the number 1 market. Now 93 for sale there, that gives them 3.7 months of inventory. Number 2, East Hants, Colchester West, up at Lance, Elmsdale, Enfield area. That's up there. $520,000 list, $511 for a sale price, giving them a 1.7%, $9,000 reduction there. But interestingly, 117 days on market. So looking at that with obviously a $39,000, $40,000 price drop, there's definitely been some properties that have stuck around a long time and really needed to get shifted. So that's actually what happened this month. 24 sales, 82 active, 3.4 months. And also jumping back into Timberley Upper Tantallon, that was a $32,000 price drop there. Joint 3rd, we have Lower Sackville. $516,000 list price, $512 for a sale. That gives them only a 0.7%. Price reduction of roughly $4,000. 15 days on market, 18 sales, 22 active, 1.2 months of inventory. Again, pretty typical for Sackville, just because it is that first time starter market. And it's interesting that they're back up to a 512 average sale price, because they had certainly been like in the high 4s. So they're trending up just a little bit more. And then joint 3rd, we actually had Fairmount, Clayton Park and Rockingham. $792,000 sale list price, $746 on the sale, giving them a reduction of what would that be? $46,000 minus 6%. So some interesting pricing must be going on there to list that high and then accepting properties that much lower. Now, they did only have 18 sales, but 76 days on market. So that does suggest properties that sold this month were sticking around longer and had to do or even accept some pretty low number from a sale to list price, because they also had to do an average of $57,000 on a price drop as well. 35 homes for sale, 1.9 months of inventory. So the whole feeling for this month, and certainly if you stuck around this far, then you're clearly interested in the stats, you like the numbers, which means that we should be having a conversation about what your plans are for the Halifax market. Are you moving here, relocating here? Is it time to sell, or is it time to kind of get onto the property market? And if that's the case, then definitely drop a comment down below, because we'd love to have that conversation with you. We'll go for coffee, go for tea. We can have a Zoom meeting or however you want to chat. But let's get started, because the one thing I know about this market is when you see a bump in March like this, yes, there's some properties that were really big and have sold, but there's a momentum, there's building coming here, which means that you don't want to get left behind, because, certainly buyers that we're starting to talk to now, they were looking last year and just put it on pause for a variety of reasons. But Now with the interest rates being higher and also the fact that we're getting an increase in price, it's starting to feel like we should have pushed harder and we should have actually got something last year. So don't live in that status of regret. Equally for the sellers, we don't know what the prices are going to be in the next 3, 4, 5 months at all. So now could be the time, especially since we're seeing that price increase and there's still not a lot of inventory. Now is your chance to put the property on the market and see what we can actually do and get that property sold for you so that you can move on to the next phase of your life. So if you have any questions, anything at all, just drop a comment down below. Schedule a viewing link with me as well. That Calendly link is down there. And let's get together and have a conversation and see exactly what you need advice on.